just flashing my smile. But inside, man, it's been a long while. They ask if I'm okay, I tell them I'm fine. But deep down I'm fighting day and nighttime, just a mask on my face, but what's behind that grin? Statues of pain, watch me push it all in. I'm no stranger to shadows, hanging around like ghosts. The silence in my head, man, that's what I feel most. 6 feet down, yeah, that's when flowers come alive. Ain't no petals for the living, just for those who survive. I think I feel the pain my father felt, the weight of unsaid words, a heart that now melts. The burden's heavy, but I wrestle with pride. If these walls could talk, what secrets they'd hide? If these walls could talk, I bet they'd blame me. All the struggles and the doubts they say is plain to see that I'm not tough enough. Burn everything that I touch. I'm just out here floating, no hope, no grudge, yeah.
We back on the block, where shadows creep and secrets talk. Jimmy and Auntie Deb in the mix. Wait till you hear the knock. It was the night of the wheel, but laughter turned to ice.
Good morning, welcome back. Good afternoon, welcome back.
Nurse Kim in the spotlight, and she paid a price. Jimmy pointing fingers, yo, Auntie Deb precise. Talking behind the scenes, truth twisted like a knife. Accusations buzzing in the air like it's some kind of strife. Infidelity in the whispers, crossing lines cut through. Auntie Deb snitching out her best friend, watching The View.
Jimmy snitch king, hating Nurse Kim real low. Adulterous woman, that's what he chose to throw. Left the husband in the dust for a fling she found online. The night turned dark, yo, that tea didn't shine.
Wilbur event lit, but they threw shade. Nurse Kim's name on the list, then they started to blade. A tramp, they said, as if they held the crown and fighting among the riders. They tearing it down. Ride or die, that's the code, but loyalty's weak in the community's eyes. Man, the drama's at its peak. Turtle riders stirring pots like witches at a brew. What's real, what's fake? Can't separate the truth.
Yeah. Jimmy snitch king, paid Nurse Kim real low. Adulterous woman, that's what he chose to throw. Left the husband in the dust for a fling she found online. The night turned dark, yo, that tea didn't shine. Jimmy snitch king, hey, hey, hey. Jimmy snitch king, hey, hey, hey. Jimmy snitch king, hey, hey, hey. Jimmy snitch king, hey, hey.
Late night bad vibes, backstabbers in the crew.
Friends turn foes, man. How are we supposed to get through? Auntie Deb the whisper took the dagger in the dark. We were supposed to ride, but this leave a heavy mark. Nurse Kim's in the shadows, heart heavy like lead. Jimmy threw her under, beat her down till she bled. Divorce paper served, all caught in this game. But who's really guilty, man? Should we fail to shame? Yo, snitching in the spotlight, watch the fire spark. One night it will, but you know it left a mark. Nurse Kim in the dark, fighting battles to win. In this twisted game, where do we begin?
Jimmy snitch king, Jimmy snitch king, Jimmy snitch king, Jimmy snitch king.
Yo, listen close. It's about to get real, you know how we roll. Came through the door, time to expose what's untold. Yeah, cease and desist, yeah, they coming for the crown. Opponent against it high, feeling like they running this town. Bragger with a briefcase, lawyer up, the stakes rise high. Only the guilty sweat and tell me who's paying the way. Wow.
Can we keep it real? Podcast got them in its sights. Expose the truth, man, we shining through the night. Belly, don't you have some makeup to slap on? And Anna Maria and the boys.
Honey, have you seen Chloe?
No.
Where could she be?
Maybe she's with Higgins' phone. Did you check the military base?
There ain't no party like a make-out with their party. There ain't no party like a make-out with their party. There ain't no party like a make-out with their party. There ain't no party like a make-out with their party.
Now they're out here calling us the house defendants. How the hell do we even contest this. Yes, Karen really, really, really wants her vengeance.
Oh shit, now we're known as the House Defendants. House Defendants. We the House Defendants. We the House Defendants.
It's not pleasant.
It's not pleasant to be a House Defendant.
Oh, it's not pleasant to be a house defendant. He said, maybe you should check the military base. Could be with Higgins' phones. What's going on, everybody, man? You know, the Kelsey Fitzsimmons hearing basically came to an end. You know, what is your verdict in that situation? Where would you rule? You know, a lot of mixed emotions in that case. You know, the alien family. You know, what is going on? How we doing down the south? You know, beautiful, beautiful day. Springtime's coming, summertime's coming. You know, try to get the snow is almost all gone. Shout out to Babs. What's going on over there? You know, doing a great job on them spaces. You know, tried to listen the other day, but the background music was just cutting in a little too much. Yeah, so here we go. You know, Kelsey Fitzsimmons. It's over. And I was thinking, if I was the defense or if I'm Kelsey and I'm representing myself, or even if I was Bradle, I mean, I'm not a lawyer at all, you know. How would I do this? You know, how would I defend Kelsey as an attorney, and what would my opening statements be? I mean, the alien kid, Justin, you know, that dude just came off just, I don't know, I just didn't, I don't respect that kid at all. I mean, who testifies against their baby's mom, try to put her in prison? You know, who does that? You know, and Officer Noonan, everything he said was kind of like the way policy is. And, you know, in them situations, you know, policy, it just gets broken, you know, and he knew his ass would be grass if Kelsey did have a weapon to her head and he shot her twice, you know. But I would probably, you know, I think that Bradle and Kelsey wanted to see her as a person and not as a headline, not a police report, you know, and not definitely the worst moment of her life that was frozen in time. I mean, we know Kelsey's a mom. You know, she was someone I was drowning emotionally, and she definitely was not thinking clearly, was not stable. She definitely wasn't herself. And I don't agree on everything that Bradle had, you know, even everything that Bradle had to say during, not really during the closing. I was just confused on how he was just his form of questioning. But yo, go check out the Fervent over on Twitter. Check this out. Let me make sure everything's on here. Let me see. Let's check this out, and let's get the alien's name off the damn screen. Oh, we have memberships now, so please, you know, give somebody a membership, you know, super chat, you know, but instead of super chat, and if you want to buy a membership, that's even better than a super chat, you know. And but if you do super chat me, I'll read whatever you have to say up online. You know, trolls are allowed when you super chat, and I don't mind. If you want to pay, you know, you could definitely troll. You know, so let's get into this. Let's get into this. Where am I? Okay, let's get his name out of here. Justin. Big shout out to all the members. You know, I was so excited to get monetized. You know, it's been a long time in the making, you know. This thing's don't always go as you want them to go. But all right, let's get this down and let's get started with this. How's everybody doing today? Good? Good.
Arrives at 9:40. That's what we call in the biz the Canoni start time.
The Canoni start time.
Before we start, attorney Tim Bradle looks around and is like, there's a lot of witnesses just hanging out in the gallery here despite a sequestration order. Judge, can you please kick these bitches out? After he does so, Tom CPU catches a couple of them streaming the opening statements, once again defying the sequestration order. Prosecutor Gubertos or something gets up for his opening. He says that Justin... guys, sorry, I'm terrible with names. How does Justin pronounce his last name?
Justin Alien.
Oh, thank you. So Justin Alien gets a restraining order on Kelsey, which led to 3 North Andover officers going to her home to serve her. The gist of the argument is that Kelsey pointed the gun.
I never had a restraining order on me. You know, thank God. But I don't recall police officers serving the restraining orders. Anybody that have experience with getting served a restraining order, you know, is it usual that police officers serve the restraining orders? Not too sure about that.
At Officer Noonan, Noonan was like, hey, don't do that, before firing twice and hitting her in the chest. Attorney Bradle then opens with this.
Kelsey, no. Kelsey, no.
And about the comment that said, can we talk about the major pervasive feral pig problem we have in this country? I mean, I'm not sure what you're talking about, and I don't really know a lot about feral pigs. You know, but if you want to come up on the show, and I'll send you a link, and you could talk about it. I don't know much about feral pigs.
You don't say that when you're staring at the muzzle of a gun pointed at you. You say that to a person who has a gun to their head.
That's a great point. You know, you don't say that to somebody that's trying to, you know, shoot you. You say that to somebody that may be trying to take their own life. No, don't do that.
And you don't shoot someone in the chest when they are seeking clearly to only harm themselves. And when you do that, you quickly realize, Your Honor, that you need to adjust the narrative to save yourself.
And that's just what he had to do. He had to adjust, in my opinion, Noonan had to adjust the narrative to save himself, because everything Noonan said was by, you know, it basically covered his ass with policy, because he knew I'm screwed, my opinion.
He says Kelsey was pointing the gun at herself and that she considered Officers Noonan and Houston as friends, so she didn't necessarily have a motive to.
I wonder if she still considers them friends. You know, do you think Kelsey still considers them friends? Let us know in the chat. And don't forget, you could gift a membership. You know, that'd be awesome. You know, I want to do a lot with, maybe we could do a lot with the members only, you know, that was starting to get, you know, it's all a new lane. This is all kind of new.
Harm them. He says the gun was found under her leg, which would defy the laws of physics if she was pointing it at Officer Noonan when she was shot. However, I don't know if I believe that based on what I know about physics from my favorite expert witness, who explains how this very well could be possible.
It just did.
It just did. It just happened like that. And you have to believe me because I'm a cop.
Just did.
Lieutenant Sean Daly is first on the stand. He says he called the alien to the house and pretty much let him rummage through the garage unsupervised, despite the fact that apparently just an alien said, quote, "I wouldn't be surprised if you shot the baby in front of you." So this guy was claiming to be deathly afraid of Kelsey Fitzsimmons, but yet has no problem entering the same home as her.
I mean, if that was the case, Justin, when you like go get your baby and just get your baby out of there, I wouldn't surprise if she shot the baby in front of you. I don't know, Justin. Your shit was just too scripted. No emotions.
Video footage is submitted into evidence, which we will get to in a minute. But first, Sister Alien takes the stand. She says Justin is the kindest, sweetest person that she knew of from whatever planet these people came from.
Love that one. From whatever planet these people came from. Fucking A.
She went with Justin to file the emergency restraining order. She said a cop let them into the house. Bradel stands up, plays the video, impeaches the hell out of her, and sits back down. Then
here he comes, the most honest ex-fiance there is. You know, this guy just from the very jump just screamed like, I'm just a little boy. You know, you shouldn't have laid down with her in the first place. You shouldn't have got engaged. You shouldn't have done a lot of things, Mr. I don't have gas money.
And we get to Justin Alien. We go through his extensive background of all these grueling boot camps that he went through and his training and his ability to protect himself and others. And this would have been so much more effective if we didn't just see how he reacted to hearing gunshots.
This is kind of great. Like, if my baby's in the house and my fiance is in the house and I hear gunshots, I'm not going to react like this.
He struggles with the concept of a yes or no answer. Each question he gives a lengthy diatribe. He claims that he was afraid for his son's safety and that he was afraid of Kelsey, but yet he has no problem just wandering around the house while she's in it. A shocking lack of an in-depth cross. The cross lasted about 10 minutes, which I think surprised a lot of people considering the amount of dirt on the alien. But it seems Bradel is putting his eggs in the basket of discrediting the next witness, Officer Noonan, a.k.a. the mother shooter. He takes the stand looking like an older version of Brian LTL. He explains everything like he's playing a game of Call of Duty, with terms such as tap rack, double tap, terms he has to constantly explain to the judge. This extensive training helped him protect himself from a petite woman. He explains that Kelsey whipped around the corner of her bedroom and pointed the gun at his face. He then shot her in the chest.
I just don't believe him in a room that small. You know, did the fear match the facts? No, the fear did not match the facts.
Fortunately, we don't get to cross today. The judge pulls a page out of Canoni's book and ends court early. Tomorrow morning should provide fireworks with the cross of Noonan.
Hope we do for Kelsey. Hopefully we have a verdict by 3 p.m. I don't see why not. Like, I don't see that. How can the judge not be ready to make his decision? I'm sure he was before. I'm sure he was before we even got into, before we were ready to deliberate. I think the judge, Noonan, G.I. Joe, absolutely, man. Sean Connery could play Officer Noonan, right? I think Sean Connery would have been a perfect match for Officer Noonan. I mean, the thing about law enforcement testimony, right? When an officer, is grounded, when they're consistent, when cops are confident in what happened, you can hear it. When anyone's testifying, you can hear it. You can hear the clarity. You can hear the friggin' responsibility. But then when the story starts shifting, when the details are getting dramatic, when the narrative feels that it's, what's that word that JFK uses it a lot? Curated. When the narrative feels curated instead of recalled, right? People are just going to notice. And that's exactly, I think, what happened here. People noticed the story. They noticed the narrative. It got more cinematic by the minute. The more we let Noonan talk, the more we let him raise his eyebrows. Officer Noonan testified that what? That Kelsey lunged behind a door, came out with a gun, and pulled the trigger twice, but it didn't fire. How lucky is him? Or is he? But was that just his narrative to save his ass? I mean, that's a movie scene, right? That's a movie script if I never seen one. That's not a calm, factual recounting. Like, she left with her left leg. Like, do you really notice what leg somebody will lead with? I just couldn't, stuff like that is just not believable. She left with her left leg. But when a story sounds like it was just a storyboard instead of witnessed, the courtroom is going to feel it. I felt it. The gun wasn't chambered. The physical evidence just doesn't match what's going on. And other cops' statements just don't line up with the theater of this whole situation. I mean, honor isn't about sounding heroic, right? It's about sounding truthful. And really, honor is not something that I could, can't mix honor and police lately in the same sentence. I just can't see how it's honorable. Verdict at 1:30 Eastern Standard Time. Shot out from A to B4. So 1:30 is 12:30 now, so we have another hour. But the words didn't match the moment, man. Another detail that struck out to me was when Lieutenant Daly testified that he heard Noonan yell what? Kelsey, don't do it. Not like you would normally hear, like, drop the gun. Point it away. Don't aim that at me, Kelsey. Don't do it is what you say to someone who's about to hurt themselves, not someone attacking you. Stop me when I'm lying. It's not something you hear when someone's trying to hurt themselves. Okay. Get into day 2. Let me get this on the screen for you. He said, I like them glasses. Are those the AI glasses? That's what these are. These are AI glasses right here. But let's see what they have to say.
One of those AI ones where you can record everyone? We are then reminded of Massachusetts law enforcement's favorite derogatory term to call women.
Do you know Maureen Teresi, your neighbor?
Maureen Teresi.
You gave her your opinion of Kelsey, didn't you?
I don't remember.
You called her a whack job, didn't you?
She was a whack job.
Noonan says he fired in rapid succession at Kelsey, so it kind of sounded like this.
Bang, bang. Right?
However, Bradel says Noonan told the police that he pulled the trigger once, gave commands to Kelsey, and then fired again. We then get into the tactical Kama Sutra, featuring positions such as the Weaver, the FBI crawl, the one-hander. We talk about how he was standing like 3 feet from Kelsey, yet couldn't hit her despite being a former member of the SWAT team. He then makes the wild accusation that he believed he was standing in the way of Kelsey going downstairs and killing Justin. Speaking of Justin, one more time for old time's sake.
Who really believes where is it? I'm sorry. Who really believes that Kelsey was trying to get downstairs? Not when the incident occurred. She wasn't pregnant. No, right. No, she wasn't pregnant at that time. She already had the baby. But who believes that Kelsey was trying to get downstairs to 86 Justin? Does that narrative make sense?
Bradel wraps up his cross by getting into the evolving statements of Officer Noonan. Originally, Noonan said that Kelsey was grabbing her chest, saying it hurts, and he was comforting her, saying, you have a kid to live for now. But in this other investigation,
I'll tell you what, things change fast because now he felt bad probably at that point because he knows, damn, I done fucked up. Sean Connery done fucked up. You know what I mean? He should have been saying, drop the gun, point it away. Don't 86 yourself, Kelsey. Don't do it. Don't do it is what you say to someone who's about to hurt themselves, not someone who's about to hurt you. He overreacted, then bang, bang. And he a fireman. He can't even run, right? No shit. He is a fireman. You know? He's a bitch. He's a mama's boy, the alien. You know? Shout out to the members, man. If you want to gift a membership, man, let it rain green. Try to build that membership up so we can figure out, you know, start to bring some good content to you guys, you know, but, you know, and all that stuff matters, you know, because in a bench trial, the judge isn't just listening to what happened. He's listening to the language that people are using in real time. You know, words definitely reveal intent.
Investigation, he added the fact that she apparently grabbed his hand, looked up at him, and almost looked through him with a death stare.
God damn. Creative writing. You know, the way the Massachusetts, you know, police handle their shit, whether it's the state police, local police, and I'm not even saying it's mass, but this is what we see all the time in mass. We see a lot of cover up, a lot of bullshit going on. You know, but a lot of this shit is the part that people don't want to say out loud. Because these testimonies, shout out to my man Benny Blanco from Beantown. You know what I mean? Benny Blanco from the Bronx's cousin, man. Shout out. You know, but when an officer's testimony feels rehearsed, and that's just what Noonan did, his shit felt mad rehearsed. Right? When the emotions don't match the facts, you know, the story just grows more dramatic than the evidence really supports. It don't sound honorable. Tell me when Noonan sounded honorable. It just sounds defensive, like he's trying to save his ass. And that's not an attack on Sean Connery. That's an observation about the presentation. I mean, because honor isn't about being a cop. Honor is about being consistent, right? Being transparent, you know, having accountability, you know, handling your bullshit. Because when the stakes are high, And that's not what people heard on day one. They didn't hear honor.
Next up is Core. This guy took possession of the firearm after the incident. He's on the stand for a total of about 10 minutes. Bradel notes that he didn't write a police report and he wasn't interviewed until a month after the incident.
Boy, that's something that happens a lot in Massachusetts. Police reports are not written. People are not interviewed until months later. And like I said, it's not about whether Sean Connery is a good person or a bad person. I mean, we know he's not a good cop. He's not a good liar. I mean, I don't really think his testimony is credible. I don't think it's consistent. And I don't think it supports the evidence, right? Because the law doesn't ask. Did Connery sound emotional? Did Sean Connery sound truthful? And I think that's the question that Judge Kopp has to answer. No way they can come back with a guilty verdict. No, honor is not a title. Honor is not a title. He just didn't sound honorable.
Which we know from prior cases is standard Massachusetts protocol. Up next is Bonacero.
He said he's bald. He's a cop.
This guy is bald, so we know he works for the Massachusetts State Police. If we've learned anything from the past few years, it's that the MSP is really bad at keeping a chain of custody. There were several areas where the witness didn't know how a certain piece of evidence got to him or where it went after him. Par for the course. Officer Houston rolls out of bed and onto the witness stand. He says Noonan told him that Kelsey pointed a gun at him at the scene. Bradel objects. During cross, Officer Houston said that Kelsey was saying, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." It seems everyone in Massachusetts has to say things 3 times in a row.
I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
It was abundantly clear he did not want to be there. We end the day with Michelle Mitchell. Apparently was a friend of Kelsey's. You couldn't tell because she was asked 5 questions by Bradel, and she answered 4 of them with an attitude.
Okay, she said that she needed Justin.
Meeting or needing? You need to clarify that for me.
I think I said needed. She said she needed Justin.
Needed Justin, that is correct.
Okay, so just let's put that over here. That she was meeting Justin, right?
Yes, thank you for clarifying.
So was there swimming?
No, Mr. Brader.
Was there drinking?
Also no.
The defense will be chaperoning the judge on a field trip to the scene tomorrow morning. It seems the Commonwealth may be resting, and we'll get to the defense case tomorrow. You know our motto here, but like, but comment, but subscribe.
That's on the Twitter page, The Fervent, I believe it's pronounced, so definitely go check that out. That was day 1 and day 2. And besides roasting the city of Lawrence, that's what Turtle Boy said. What do you say? Lawrence is like the worst city in Massachusetts, some shit like that, but JLR, they have, says Savannah Speaks, Nancy Gundry. He has 5,000 people watching his live right now. My goodness. And it looks like Truth and Transparency got their live streaming back. Congratulations to them. I guess their live stream was actually taken because of something to do with JLR, but I think they got it back. So shout out to them for getting it back. But what's your ruling in this case? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Let's get back to day 3. Where are we? Come on.
That
ain't it.
Why is he?
Day
I'm gonna
3
get
of the
into
Kelsey
day
Fitzsimmons
3.
trial.
Pause it. Make sure you got it on screen. Bang.
The Commonwealth calls David Strong. Take a look at his head and
Bless
guess
you.
who he works for. Another pretty quick witness. Bradel reaffirms that there was no drug testing of Noonan following the incident. He also reminds everyone.
And you would think that's policy that they drug test, a cop after a shooting. I know in a police officer Bill of Rights, it says they cannot randomly, imagine that, they cannot randomly piss test cops. They carry guns, they have a stressful job, but their Bill of Rights say we can't piss test them. Is that crazy?
Everyone that the bedroom was the size of a broom closet. So how could Kelsey, as Newman would say, quote, get the drop on him? Then the Commonwealth rests. Their case in chief proved that Kelsey was in fact shot. The defense starts their case with Maureen Tarazi. By the way, I hit my hip on various forms of furniture every day, so never has a witness been more relatable. She is Noonan's neighbor. She recalls a conversation with Noonan. The conversation pretty much goes like this. Maureen says, man, it's pretty crazy what happened with that North Andover cop, right? Noonan's like, I'm the shooter. He then tells the tale that she had the gun pointed at him. Maureen ain't having it. She calls him on his BS, and then he responds by channeling his inner Proctor, calling her.
She was a whack job.
We learned she first got involved with the case by contacting Mike Crawford of the Young Jerks. Grubertos then puts a Facebook post.
Shout out to Mike Proctor. Look at that. I mean, Mike Proctor. Shout out to Mike Crawford, man, being named in the trial. Attorney Tim Bradel on North Andover Police use of deadly force against his client, North Andover Police Officer Kelsey Fitzsimmons.
Post on the screen. This is reminiscent of Hank Brennan impeaching Dr. Wolf.
I mean, this son Turbo is probably pissed at this too because Mike Crawford is getting a little bit of shine.
With a Facebook post from Dr. Wolf's wife. We get a Karen Reed mention. Never good if you're the prosecution. Maureen says the judicial system in Massachusetts is going awry. Talk about an honest witness. We then wrap up with yet another Facebook post put on the screen. And it's basically the police department celebrating National Women's Day. And Maureen's comment was, wow, let's hope they stay safe from their colleagues. If I saw that on social media, I would be giving it a like. Next up is Kelsey's mom. She reiterates that Kelsey was sad that Justin didn't meet her at the common. She also heard the words Kelsey no, before her daughter was shot. She says she saw Justin run by. And you know what that means. Play the clip.
Love that clip. That's just a
And
best.
the main event of the evening has arrived as Kelsey Fitzsimmons takes the stand. She recalls a text argument with the alien earlier that day. Justin vies for his Father of the Year award as he responds pretty much, I guess I can watch the kid.
Damn, that's her job, man. You're a dad. It ain't babysitting when it's your own kid. You know? It just isn't. And big shout out to Jay Brill. I gotta say, man, Jay Brill has came a long way since he stepped on the scene, with the JFK crew. And of course, when you're on the JFK crew, you're gonna catch a lot of smoke. You're gonna catch a lot of heat. I mean, that's just how it is. Turbo Boy don't like JFK for whatever reason, because I think JFK stood up to him. But shout out to Jay Brilliant, just want to do his part. And what's wrong with that? So shout out to Jay Brill.
Kelsey saw the alien's UFO parked at his friend Hunter's house along with several of Kelsey's friends, even though they were supposed to meet at the park. Justin stopped responding to her texts. We learned that even Kelsey's dog was included in the restraining order.
Which that is fucking crazy. You're going to put someone's dog up in there? That's crazy by itself.
She confirmed she lies to the police, telling them that the guns were in the basement and to get them to leave the room so she could have space to end her own life. She says that Noonan said Kelsey no before the shooting. She says she was telling hospital staff that she was an idiot for trying to end her own life with a gun with no bullets. Goober Toes gets up for Cross. He basically does a mini roast of the city of Lawrence, pretty much calling it a dump. He briefly gets into the police visiting Kelsey.
Well, that ain't right. How you going to describe the city of Lawrence as a dump? That's pretty insulting for the people that live in the city of Lawrence, right?
See the week prior, but the line of questioning is dropped. He tries to make the point that Kelsey's anger was really aimed at Justin, basically alluding that Noonan was doing his job by standing between her and Justin, even though she didn't know he was in the house. Kelsey was cool, calm, and collected on the stand. What a whack job. It appears we only have a charging conference and closings left, and we could get a verdict as soon as tomorrow. But like, but comment, but subscribe. See you guys tomorrow.
So yeah, definitely go check out the Fervent, over there on Twitter. Let's see, what does he have here? Look at look at the turtle, such a loser. Walks up and seems like Kelsey looks uncomfortable. He's such a creep. She probably wants nothing to do with him.
Ahead and coping with a lot of things that she's been through. So we're very proud of her. We're glad this case is coming to a conclusion. We appreciate everything Judge Clark has done to make us comfortable, make us feel heard, and it's almost over. So
Do you feel like it's about your favorite?
we're very confident and put everything in that we wanted to put in. We put a lot of
She
work
looks
into
so
it,
uncomfortable.
That's all you can do.
The turtle boy barking accomplished what you set out to accomplish.
I think Kelsey accomplished everything that she wanted to, and she accomplished everything I wanted to, so we're very happy.
Kelsey, do you want to comment on what it felt like to be up there on the stand?
Glad the truth came out.
Sky, the truth finally came out. Did you feel like it was your moment to share your story, your side of the story?
I feel like it was my only moment to finally say what actually happened.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Ouch. So Kelsey gets up there and she wants to say what actually happened.
Very proud of her.
He says, why can't Brado grow some balls and tell him to stay off his case? This is not what professional attorneys condone, especially knowing how toxic Turtle Boy is.
Acting like he never went upstairs. Moments later, Officer Houston heard Noonan scream Kelsey, followed by two gunshots. Officer Houston immediately ran upstairs and observed Kelsey lying on the ground. Officer Houston asked Officer Noonan what happened, and Officer Noonan said that Fitzsimmons pointed a firearm at him, pulled the trigger, then racked a round of ammunition. After the shooting, all of the officers began to render aid. Now, same day, on July 3rd, Noonan was interviewed. Officer Noonan provided a statement that was consistent. This is how it starts. Officer Noonan provided a statement that was consistent with the timeline of events provided by Lieutenant Daly and Officer Houston. Right there. Like, just fucking write the report. Write the report. During the restraining order service process, Officer Noonan was alone with Kelsey on the second floor of the house. The second floor consisted of 2 bedrooms and a closet. Officer Noonan stated that Kelsey was packing clothing and books for the infant. Noonan stated that Kelsey was kneeling on the ground folding laundry in her bedroom. Officer Noonan, standing in the doorway, observed Kelsey face toward him, lunge toward an area behind the door. That is what this fucking report says. Behind the door. There is no door on Kelsey's bedroom. Hello. Behind the door.
I mean, the room is only so big. Small bedroom. You know, small bedroom. So where could have she been hiding?
An area behind the door. What door? There's no fucking door there.
Let us know, Jay Brill, when the verdict is
And then reappear
about to be read if we don't catch it.
behind this fake door. And then reappear pointing a firearm directly at him. What's the most, like, you know, when you're in first, second, third, and fourth grade, a big thing that they teach you in school is you got to read a little paragraph, and then they teach you to say, okay, what's the main idea? What are the supporting then sentences that go with the main idea? Okay. And so you have to work with your kids and you have them read this little paragraph. And then it's like, okay, what's the main idea of the paragraph? What are the supporting details of the paragraph? What do you think the most important part of that paragraph would be? The door, because there is none, right? And then this whole lunging. You can't lunge behind a door if there is no door. You cannot come out behind of a door that there is no door of. Like, so. Whew. Officer Noonan said Fitzsimmons
Can't lunge behind a door when there's not a door there. I mean, you know, another part of the credibility issue for Noonan, you know. I mean, Justin Alien has credibility issues. Noonan has fucking credibility issues. They all have some type of credibility issues.
pulled the trigger, and he heard the firearm click, but no round was fired. Fitzsimmons then began to stand up. So he's saying that she tried to shoot herself, not standing up yet. So then what's this whole lunging? You can't lunge back. Like do you hear his version? And this is what Bradel, I just think, did a horrible job of. There is no door. And so if she lunged toward an area behind the door and then reappeared, pointing a firearm directly at him. From crouching, right? From down on the ground. Officer Noonan and Fitzsimmons, Officer Noonan said that Fitzsimmons pulled the trigger and he heard the firearm click, but no round was fired.
So how is that 2 rapid shots? It seems you fired, you waited, Kelsey, no, then you fired again. We'll come back to this in a minute.
Like I told you, they're gonna hit. I'm gonna hit back.
I can't believe these losers still have a show.
I'm gonna keep doing my shows.
All just die in a hole!
I need you to sign here to agree you will not disclose your involvement in this project.
If this works, by the grace of God, we can stop it all.
So he teleported to the waterfall.
So I was thinking we could grab some coffee first before we head over.
And this is what, John and Karen?
Sounds perfect.
Let's see how 2026 is now.
On a single
mom. Asking for cash for the little man. Oh, shut the fuck up and start no man.
That's how I remember it.
Like I told you, they're gonna hit. I'm gonna hit back.
I can't believe these losers still have a show.
I'm gonna keep doing my shows.
All just die in a hole.
I need you to sign here to agree you will not disclose your involvement in this project.
If this works, by the grace of God, we can stop it all.
So I was thinking we could grab some coffee first before we head over.
Sounds perfect.
Let's see how 2026 is now.
All bullshit. Honest single mom. Asking for cash for the little man. Oh, shut the fuck up and start no man.
That's how I remember it.
Give me a minute, straighten some shit out. Be right back.
Fitzsimmons then began to stand up as Noonan pulled his firearm out of its holster. Fitzsimmons began to rack the firearm to chamber a round. Officer Noonan gave several commands such as drop the gun and don't do it. Drop the gun was never heard by fucking anybody. Right? You need to point out all of these inconsistencies, right? Because if you think that this report, I mean, reports aren't in evidence, but you can still point them all out. And if you were quoted by saying, can I refresh your recollection by, haven't you changed your version of events like multiple times? When you were first, interviewed, you said, drop the gun and don't do it. Drop the gun. Don't do it. After she tried to shoot you, Officer Noonan stated that at this point, he knew she was trying to kill him. He fired one round, but Fitzsimmons continued trying to chamber a round. Officer Noonan fired a second round, striking Fitzsimmons. So based on this, the prosecution would be correct.
Just being throwing that out there. Who would want to fuck a cat? They will scratch you and nobody wants to fuck a cat. People will fuck a dog because we doggy style. It's the most popular, it's the most American thing you could do, right? Doggy style. Dog, human, doggy style, same thing,
No, not the same thing, and not the most American thing you can do. This guy is a fucking loser. He said the same thing, no? Is it? This friggin' weirdo, man. Absolutely weirdo.
Somebody just texted me, Cyberchick is in the chat, and she said, I'm responding. Please, this is a sad attempt at being clever. Is this what I'm really seeing right now? I can't. So I go in her chat today, and I'm like, hey, maybe return my text message, right? Because she hasn't responded to my text message, so I'll get her right on her show. And now to be clever, she wants to come on here and she wants to say we should go our separate ways. We will, but not until I get to say my part. I don't know how many followers Cyberchick has right now, but it will never be more than that. Where she is where she'll stay. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Hello. It's me. Peed in the garage and my dog licked it. Hello. It's me. Peed in the garage and my dog licked it.
To Lawrence. I like fucking action, so I went there, and I'm fucking Rambo. That's what Bradel's getting at there. So you're basically, you think you're Rambo. This guy is thinks he's Rambo. This guy thinks he's like super cop, and this guy is covering for himself. He has every incentive to lie. Everything's by design. You think you're fucking Rambo. That's why you left North Andover to go to Lawrence. I like fucking action, so I went there, and I'm fucking Rambo. That's what Bradel's getting at there. So you're basically, you think you're Rambo. This guy is thinks he's Rambo. This guy thinks he's like super cop, and this guy is covering for himself. He has every incentive to lie. Everything's by design. You think you're fucking Rambo. That's why you left North Andover to go to Lawrence. I like fuck. You guys need to hear this. We don't send people to jail in this state or this country when other people aren't hurt. Nobody got hurt. Like nobody got what is happening right now? We're not sending someone to jail for a YouTube show. You guys really every incentive to lie. Everything's by design. You think you're fucking Rambo. That's why you left North Andover to go to Lawrence. I like fucking action, so I went there, and I'm fucking Rambo. That's what Bradel's getting at there. So you're basically, you think you're Rambo. This guy is thinks he's Rambo. This guy thinks he's like super cop, and this guy is covering for himself. He has every incentive to lie. Everything's by design. You think you're fucking Rambo. That's why you left North Andover to go to Lawrence. I like fucking action, so I went there, and I'm fucking Rambo. That's what Bradel's getting at there. So you're basically, you think you're Rambo. This guy is
digging out the pool. Give me a few minutes. Be right back. Ugh. Let me get this situated.
Claimed that you were physically violent with them. 6 women claimed you were physically violent with them.
It's not rape.
3 women.
It's physical violence, not rape. That's what you're saying.
No, 3.
Will Henry, you a sucker. Let's break it down. Claim you a man, but where's your crown? Put your hands up, kid. You taught him how to fight, but you ain't fighting right, man.
The law is just a matter of time.
Like a thief in the night. Where's the love? This ain't how you raise a child, right? Kicking your son out like he's just a game piece. How you claim to be a dad, forgetting his release. Will Henry, you a sucker. Can't you see the glare?
And you didn't know that?
Cares, special needs child, you're running from the truth, but every word you spit just.
I can admit that I was not fit to take care of him and meet his needs. He had special needs at this point.
So you're admitting that your kid has special needs?
There's one rape opposed to the 6 rape.
No, there's 3 ladies that claim
There's one rape opposed to the 6 rape.
No, there's 3 ladies that claim
Public and raw, yet you try to justify and glaze over the flaw. Just look in the mirror, see the man you become. A name in the charts, but what's under that drum? Will Henry, you a sucker, got all eyes on you. Blackmail and violence, is that the best you can do? Special needs child, you claim it's all fine, but the truth in the lineup is living in every line. Will Henry, you a sucker, got all eyes on you. Blackmail and violence, is that the best you can do? Special needs child, you claim it's all fine, but the truth in the lineup is living in every line. Look, I'm I'm not built to watch a man tear down his own. You need to change direction before the seed you sown. A name ain't a warrior. It's the truth that empowers. So rise up, Will, and stop hiding in the towers. Yo, this is the story of where I come from. Manton Avenue, yeah, where it all begun. Ooh, yeah. Go. When I think back to Stanley, the bike man's grind, 15 bucks in the dream, 2 wheels intertwined, building rides from scraps, he made magic flow. Every kid on the block knew he was the star of the show. Those summer days, sun beaming down, lemon hut chilling, just me in the crowd. Mischief rolling off the tip of my tongue, climbing through that window where the laughter hung. Got caught, yeah, but I do it again. Life was a movie, no scripts, just friends. Echoes on Manton, where the past still clings. Memories of the summer nights, the joy that it brings. Came from the streets where the dreams felt real. Life's a wild ride, man. Know the deal. Yeah, late night swims with Uncle Lee, night watch vibes. Joseph pool splash beneath those city skies. The stars were our roof, every laugh a gem. Rolling like the tide, man, we didn't care when. Lisa on the floor, breakdancing queen. Furious rockers pumping, you know what I mean. She spun and she twirled, the crowd going wild. In the Manning Project, she was every child's idol. But time's a thief, man, it shadows the light. Chasing down memories in the dark of the night. Camp David sunshine, let's roll it back. Now it feels distant, yeah, fading from track. Echoes on Manton, where the past still clings. Memories of the summer nights, the joy that it brings. Came from the streets where the dreams felt real. Life's a wild ride, man, know the deal. Now I walk these blocks, but they feel so changed. Remnants of a youth that's slipping through my veins. But I hold on to the laughter, the reckless abandon. The spirit of my childhood always commanding. So take me back to that lemon hut shine. The bikes on the street and moments divine. Manning Avenue, forever in my soul. These echoes remain as we chase our goals. Echoes on Manton, never truly gone. In the heart of a rebel where I still belong. Yo, this is my story, I'm just letting it flow. Manning Avenue roots, always in the know. Yeah, they say it's the end, but we all know there's more. David's fighting like a warrior. Open that door. They put him in a room, called it hospice care. But he raised his voice, told him, man, I'm still here. November 26th, they sent him home to be fine. But the truth hit hard, lymphomas on the grind. Yeah, I'm counting miracles, I'm talking about 9 to 10. Yet every morning David gets up to try again. With each sunrise, he defies what the world believes. He stands firm in faith like trees with deep roots and leaves. So pray, bring his name to every church and home. Lift him high, in every man's let our spirits roam. We need another miracle, we're raising our hands. David is a miracle, let's unify and stand. Yeah. Oh, 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 yeah. Oh, oh, oh. Let's unify and stand. Yeah. Oh, 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 yeah. Oh, 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 oh.
He's still breathing, still battling, love all around. Each day he wakes up, it's a blessing he found. A heart like a lion, a voice full of hope. He inspires us all, he helps us to cope. The doctors may frown, but we see the light. With every prayer we whisper, we ignite the fight. So join us in this journey, lift your faith high. Like David, we believe miracles never die. So pray, bring his name to every church and home. In every man's let us
You got the link in the chat if you want to come up and talk about the Kelsey, what you think about Kelsey. You know, if the girl wants to come up or anybody wants to come up and Because the fear don't match the facts in this case. In any courtroom, it's not just what someone says.
We're never alone. I can count each miracle like stars when I'm prone. Speaking life over the darkness, bringing light where we roam. Each prayer a candle, together we ignite hope's throne. Cause every day's a gift and he won't let it go. Won't let it go. Miracle man David with a heart full of soul. So keep fighting, keep believing, he's got more on the way. Our God's in the business of healing every word we say.
Lord, please hold him tight. Let him shine ever bright. Claim the victory.
Shout out to David, man. David was 20 years young when he passed away. He passed away about a month or two ago, and then when you hear guys like Turtle Boy, when you hear guys like Turtle Boy say, F cancer, or I'm team, not F cancer, I'm team cancer, it kind of hits differently. And then people wonder why everyone thinks the guy is a friggin' coward. He's a piece of shit. He's everything that you can imagine. Everything that's a negative is Turtle Boy. But welcome back. What's going on? We wait until 2:00. Jay Bill's at the court, gonna get the verdict. But Justin Alien, man, this guy's claim is that he was afraid for his son's safety. Are you buying that? You buying that Justin was afraid for his son's safety? I mean, I don't think it landed the way that he thought it was going to land. Because fear, for one, is a powerful word, right? But it has to make sense. Because when Justin took the stand and said he feared for his son's safety, that's a heavy friggin' statement. That's the kind of line prosecutors love, right? Because why? It sounds emotional. It's friggin' dramatic. It's protective, right? But here's the problem, Jason. Here's the problem, Justin, bro. Alien. Here's the problem. Fear only matters if the facts support it. Yes, rest in peace, Dave. Absolutely. Imagine that 20 years young. I couldn't imagine. And when that young man died, I think it hit a lot of people, like especially parents, because, we all have, well, not all of us, but, my age group, a lot of us have 20-year-old kids that are in their 20s. And I couldn't imagine, what that family went through. So when you hear Turtle Boy say something as negative as that, it just rips you in half. But we're going to get back into the Justin timeline. Looking at the timeline, the behavior, the choices that Justin made, the fear don't match reality. And in bench trials, right, the judge sees that immediately. It's different than a jury trial. In a jury trial, you want to feed on the emotions. And then you look at the friggin' credibility issue, because Justin truly believed his son was in danger. You'd expect what? Urgency, consistency, protective behavior, clear communications. He barely held his son. Decisions that aligned with fear. Nothing Justin did aligned with fear except when he went running out that house. Justin was a man whose actions just don't line up with the level of danger that he claimed. He seemed more focused on control, right, than protection, in my opinion. Because what he was saying shifted depending on who was asking the question. And that happens a lot of times. Who's asking the question that's all going to depend on what your answer is going to be. And judges notice that. They're trained to notice that. The restraining order was convenient, right? Another credibility crack. The restraining order wasn't filed after a dangerous incident. It wasn't filed after a threat. It wasn't filed after a pattern when things started escalating. It was filed during a relationship breakdown. Of course it was. And that's the problem, that somebody could go to court and say, my child is in danger. They could be lying about it and all. And the judge will issue that warning. They'll issue that temporary restraining order against you, the parent that's really doing right. He totally set her up. You know, like I said the other day, Justin is immature. He's a mama's boy. You know, he's still probably sucking on mama's titty. You know, he's just, I bet his mother still wipes his ass. And this is a fireman. What I heard in this case, if he just went to pick up his child, this would not have happened. Kind of like Marlon Wayans when he says, I'm here to pick up my child. And he goes there and he picks him up and he puts him down. He said, all right, I'll be back next week to pick up my child. But what did Justin say? He said he feared for his son, but he didn't act like a man who was afraid for his son. He said he was protecting his child, but where was he with his child when he was running out that house? When bullets started flying. And then when the defense cross-examined him, he started cracking. He started breaking down. Not because he's a villain, because look, he don't have the fortitude to be a villain. Not because he was malicious, right? Wouldn't even know how to be malicious. But this guy's testimony, it just wasn't consistent. It wasn't grounded. It wasn't supported on the facts. And in a bench trial, credibility is everything. Because you don't have a jury. The judge isn't looking for drama. He's looking for the truth. I would like if we could just go back to like what they did with Eddie O'Brien. You know, when they put him under, when they drugged him up. And you can go check that out on JFK. Here's a small clip of it.
Did you kill her? No. He never accounts for the fact that his blood is in that house. He never explains that away in the tape, and he would not have been able to explain that away at trial. And all of this is that Ed O'Brien has been convicted of killing Janet Downey. That's never going to change.
You know, and that's the thing, man, right?
You know, he never accounts.
Is because of this guy right here. This is the guy.
You didn't hurt Janet Downey?
No.
Did you kill her?
No.
He never accounts for the fact.
That's the way that you get to the truth. And that was paid for by the state. The state paid for that, but they didn't like what they heard. You know, get someone all up on benzos and they're going to tell you the damn truth. You know, so, you know, that's way better than a jury. Like, what a better way to get to the truth than drug someone up and ask them some questions. But our law system doesn't allow that. You know, because the judge don't care about, you know, how much you can act or the bullshit. He don't care about who cries harder. He don't care about who looks more sympathetic. What does the judge care about? Consistency, logic, evidence, you know, whether the story makes any sense. And did Justin's story make any sense? No. A scared little boy. You know, someone always said, you know, a fear without evidence is emotion. Fear without action is performance. And fear without consistency is not credible, right? And that's why Justin's testimony didn't carry the weight that Justin hoped it would. He had no emotions in his testimony. You know, his credibility, it's about facts. And at the end of the day, Justin's claim that he feared for his son's safety, right? That wasn't supported by his behavior. It wasn't supported by the friggin' timeline. It wasn't supported by the evidence either. or the emotional reality of that situation. And that is why it didn't land. That's why Justin's credibility was a waste. His testimony was a waste of time in a courtroom. Credibility isn't about how scared you say you were. It's about whether your story stands up when the facts end up pushing back. Because the truth don't need defending. And in this case, it didn't. It didn't at all. Nope, it didn't at all. But the timing of it all, it definitely tells the truth, But when they get up to cross-examine Justin's credibility, give me a minute. There's a mad tree cutter outside my house. I gotta check on that.
They only respect the violence, that's how it goes. Yeah. They only respect the violence. That's how it goes. Yeah. Cut you on the phone, man, that's how they roll. Real ones moving silent, never let it be told. If you don't walk like a gangster, better check your stride. The test your metal quick, won't let it slide. Talking slick, better watch for the knife. Cause if you a rap, think it's cool, nah, that's not life. Young ones lurking, face got ripped up, it's karma. Toughest one you know when tears call in for mama. Heart's cold when life's given by your honor. Means your ticket's marked in a little ass cell, yeah. In this game, respect is violence. Watch your step on this route, cats doing life for a little ass sale, there's no doubt. Super Bowl counting in max years gold. Time run slow, rule number one, choose your commerce, let the real one show. In this game, respected violence, watch your step on this route. Cats doing life for a little ass sale, there's no doubt. Super Bowl counting in max years gold. Time run slow, rule number one, choose your commerce, let the real one show. Punks wanna turn you out, sneak thieves out to learn. Watch your moves close, cause they'll be quick to burn. Playing your exit smartly, take everything you got. CEOs wanna test your nerves, didn't let it rot. They were chumps in high school, trying to be tough now. It's survival of the fittest, you get lost in the crowd. That dude you call friend might flip like a switch. Check his file, man, before you let him in your pitch. You feel me? Got the shadows lurking at your back. Trust is a luxury in this life full of cracks. Find out now, cause later's a dangerous phase. In this concrete jungle, it's amazing array. In these games, it's fine. Watch your step on this route. Cats doing life for a little ass sale, there's no doubt. Super Bowl counting in max years gold. Time run slow, rule number one, choose your commerce, let the real one show. In this game, respect the violence, watch your step on this route. Cats doing life for a little SL, there's no doubt. Super Bowl counting in max years gold. Time run slow, rule number one, choose your commerce, let the real one show. Survival's the name if you don't watch your lane. The only thing they respect is the feelings of pain. So keep your circle tight and your eyes on the ground. In this life, there's no mercy when the real comes around.
A little side-by humor. How many lawyers does it take to change a light bulb? Answer, depends on how many cops planted it there. Hey, there you go. That's a good one. He totally set her up. Like I said the other day, I said it over and over. That, Justin should have never got involved with Kelsey if he didn't want the responsibilities. There was a lot of red flags here. The restraining order timing was convenient. So if we broke down the inconsistencies about of Justin, we'd probably be here all day, because from day one, he was nothing but inconsistent, right? Because if you really want to understand why I think Justin's testimony didn't hold up, you have to look at the way the defense attorney attacked it, right? Timing, through behavior inconsistencies. But I don't think the timing or any of that was the first red flag, because if Justin was really afraid of his son's safety, he should have filed the restraining order when the danger really occurred, not because you're going through a breakup. The restraining order wasn't filed after a bad incident. You know, it was filed after a threat, after the shit started escalating. And you see that all the time in relationships. You know what I mean? You see a man get upset, you know, that his girlfriend isn't doing, you know, and then his mama tells him, you know, you should go down to the courthouse and file for, you know, restraining order, you know, and the mom don't know what's going on. The mom's at work, you know what I mean, trying to support her family. And then before you know it, you got DCF at your house. You know what I mean? And then what happens? The mom is panicking. You know, she has to lean on her parents to get her a lawyer, you know, to get into court, to get her kids back. You know, so people use this court system as a weapon. Because when fear shows up, right, only when a relationship ends, it's not when the kid is really in danger, or it's not when there's a dangerous situation. You know, Justin's a bitch boy, right? He was using the court system as a weapon. You know, picture this in the courtroom, right? The defense, Mr. Alien, you testified you feared for your son's safety, correct? Yes. And yet you continued normal contact with Kelsey after the alleged danger? Yes. So you didn't call the cops at the time of the alleged danger, right, Justin? No. Why? You didn't try to get emergency custody at that time? You see what I'm getting at? And Justin answers no. Oh, so you waited until the relationship deteriorated before filing anything? And he says yes. And right there, Justin's credibility just collapses. Because fear without action is not fair. It's a narrative, isn't it? I mean, I think the judge is watching the behavior. He ain't watching the tears, and I don't see how the judge, beyond a reasonable doubt, can get to a guilty verdict on this one. But regardless, she lost her job, most likely. You know, the behavior didn't match his words, you know, because if he was truly afraid, he would act immediately. If I was afraid of my wife, which I am at times, you know, but if he was really, really afraid of Kelsey, right, he would act right away. Am I lying? He would protect his child right away, because if you fear that your spouse is dangerous, are you not going to get your kid out of there? Are you not going to create distance, bro? You did none of that, Justin. Instead, you filed a restraining order. You put the friggin' dog in the restraining order. So you was looking at anything that was going to hurt Kelsey, right? You didn't do it when the danger happened. This is what we call leverage. That's not fair. Justin was not afraid. I mean, he was, but not that type of afraid. He was just afraid because he was weak. You know, the prosecution needed Justin at that time to be consistent, but Justin wasn't consistent. His testimony, to me, it created more questions than answers. You know what I mean? More questions than answers. And why did the restraining order appear only during a conflict? How come the restraining order didn't appear when there was alleged danger, right? Why did this story shift? And like I said earlier, and I say this a lot, the story shifts depending on who's asking the questions. Absolutely. An opportunist to take all her belongings, most importantly, her baby. You know, so if anyone knows anything about criminal law, inconsistencies don't weaken a witness. They just create reasonable doubt. And that's what we have here. I think we have a lot of reasonable doubt. Reasonable doubt is the defense's entire job. The prosecutor is supposed to get to the truth, not win at any cost. You know, because I think when a witness like Justin, his timeline doesn't match his testimony, and a judge doesn't just question the story, right? He's going to question the witness. And once a witness loses credibility, everything they say becomes weak, legally weak. That's why Justin's alien's testimony, it didn't strengthen the prosecutor's case. I think it just weakened it. Everything he could take from Kelsey, he wanted to try to hurt her. That's why the dog was in there, everything, you know? Just like, what does Turtle Boy say? Oh, I did it. What do you say about James Jackson? I did it to hurt him. I wanted to hurt James Jackson. I just want to use James as an excuse because it fits here, you know? I just wanted to hurt him so bad. I wanted to hurt him. So I said things that is out of line and something that would just hurt him. So I don't think Justin's credibility, it did not survive the timeline, you know, and it wasn't personal. That's legal analysis. You know, so now we had the closing in the trial. And if you really watched them, you saw something that wasn't subtle at all. Was it a fair fight? I mean, the prosecutor came in polished, right? Structured, ready to you know, trying to be all aggressive. You know, he had the tone, pacing the courtroom. So it's 1:42. What did they say? 2 o'clock, we should have the verdict. So 15 minutes away. You know, he definitely framed the narrative, you know, the way that prosecutors are trained to, with confidence, with authority, you know, with the kind of emotion that just lands. And Brado's like, all right, whatever. Not because Brado's a bad attorney, not because he didn't care. What did you say? You said the prosecution's closing was built like a machine, and Brado was built like a man trying to hold back a tidal wave with a paper cup. And then the objections after closing. Objections after closing, that's the legal equivalent of trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube, I guess. You know, it don't work. It looks desperate. And it definitely signals to the judge, you know, that the defense knows the prosecution just landed a hit. And that moment probably mattered. I mean, I think a jury would have probably convicted her, right? If this was a jury trial, a conviction would probably be extremely likely. In a lot of trials, the conviction is likely. Not because the evidence is airtight. We've seen that in Karen Reed. Because there's no loyalty. You know, but because juries respond to emotions, they respond to authority. You know, they want to hear the storytelling in all this, you know, the weight of the badge. I think the jury would have probably heard the prosecutor's closing and felt the emotional gravity of it, the gun clicking. I mean, they would have seen the uniform, they would have heard the fear, they would have filled in the gaps with their own assumptions. And that's what's dangerous about a jury, because most jurors barely have a friggin' high school diploma. And that's why Brado knew better to waive a jury. That's why he didn't want a jury. This case is going to live or die on legal nuisances, on legal arguments, you know, not the emotional reaction. So now it's in the hands of one judge, and that itself is its own problem, because bench trials are supposed to be a lot cleaner, more logical, less emotion, right? Put a 1 in the chat if they're going to come back not guilty. Put a 2 if it's going to be a guilty verdict. Because let's keep it real, Massachusetts judges are human. They come with their own experience, their own bias, you know, their own internal compass. You know, I mean, I'm not the most morally grounded person, you know, but when you say, I don't have much faith in how things will go, you're not alone, because not many people trust the free and justice system. I mean, who really trusts police credibility? The mental health. You know, all these domestic conflict situations, you got public pressure, politics, accountability. And I'll tell you what, Massachusetts has a long history of struggling with all 5 of the things I mentioned: police credibility, mental health, domestic situations, public pressure, you know, politics and accountability. Do I got to say the name Eddie O'Brien? I mean, the Massachusetts has a long history with this shit. Regardless of the verdict, the fallout is going to be guaranteed, right? Because here's the part that nobody wants to say out loud, right? No matter what this judge decides, this doesn't end with a verdict. Not for Kelsey, not for the public, and definitely not for Officer Noonan and his family, right? Because the loudest voices, man, the most unhinged voices, the ones that don't care about facts, they don't care about nuisance, they don't give a rat's ass about mental health. They're already sharpening up their knives. Caught suck, absolutely. And if Kelsey is found guilty, they'll say it wasn't enough. We need more. If she's found not guilty, they're going to say the system failed. So either way, it's a fucking. Either way you look at it. And the Noonan family, Sean Connery, they're stuck in the middle of that storm. You know what I mean? That's the tragedy behind the tragedy. I mean, Noonan should have thought about a lot of this. I mean, this is where Massachusetts is right now as a state. You know, it ain't just a trial. It's probably a snapshot of where Mass is and where it's struggling. We've seen it all, right? And the verdict won't fix that. So whatever happens, you know, we got to keep it real. You know what I mean? Appreciate the members. You know, give some memberships. Here's some super chat, super stickers. You know, that stuff will all go, you know, to building my law defense. I got to hire a damn attorney. But no matter what the verdict is, we're going to talk about it honestly, right? We're going to break it down, you know, whether it's guilty or not guilty, you know. But I don't see it being a guilty verdict. It might be. It could be. But we just got to keep it real, right? We got to call it how it is, you know? So deep dive on a bench trial, you know, it's going to change. It's going to change everything. You know, it's definitely going to change everything. Give me a minute. We will be right back. I would be considered a hood booger. You know what I mean? Based on my demographics. I would be the W word. You know, my house he would say I have 6, 7 satellite dishes hanging up on my house. That's what I would be. But these guys do no field work. They don't source. They don't have no original documents. They can't get a FOIA request. Just a whole bunch of third-party information dressed up to make it look pretty. And that's not journalism. That's content farming. That's being a punk.
Hey, yo, it's time to get real. The streets are buzzing. Free Karen Reed, watch the fire, no bluffing. Critics out, yeah, they loud, but we ain't backing down. Let's shed light on those wearing the crown. Step into the scene, enter Aiden Kearney, aka Turtle Boy, thoughts kinda dirty. Rolling deep with misfits, you know, like Will the Glera. Claims he's tough, but that ain't a real player. Beating on his kid, man, that's a red alert. No cap, no lie, dude, you need to revert.
Let's talk about the truth. Let's keep it real. Clara's got a history that's hard to conceal. Turtle Boy trolls with that fake account vibe. This is a community we gotta unite. This is a community we gotta unite.
Then there's Jimmy, aka Aunt Deb on the scene, instigating trouble, thinking he's a mean machine, dividing us up. Man, it's never gonna win. Can't keep the peace when you're all about sin. Jessica Machado throwing threats like confetti, kicking folks out. Yo, you ain't ready.
Let's talk about the truth. Let's keep it real. Clara's got a history that's hard to conceal. Turtle Boy trolls with that fake account vibe. This is a community we gotta unite. This is a community we gotta unite.
Turtle Boy, tell me what's the deal? Slanging fake news like it's part of the meal. Mental, physical threats, that ain't no game. Abusing women, man, that's a real shame. Real shame, real shame, real shame. Watch as the drama unfolds. It's not just gossip, it's harmful behavior that you can't just toss it. Burner accounts, a coward with a keyboard, but the real talk, that's where you ignored. Stand up, man, quit acting like a child. Time to heal, not divide, make the difference worthwhile. Now let's get real, it's time to change the narrative. Stand together, bring the positive imperative. Let's be a voice that speaks for the weak. United we rise, broken cultures can't speak. Yeah.
Let's talk about the truth. Let's keep it real. Clara's got a history that's hard to conceal. Turtle Boy trolls with that fake account vibe. This is a community we gotta unite. This is a community we gotta unite.
Yo, it's time we rise and speak the truth, no more blind eye. We ain't shaming, we're claiming all the pain bottled inside.
Yeah.
Are we shaming the man, not believing his cries? Telling stories so raw like darkness in disguise. Alex stands bold, he's worn the scars on his chest. But the world just keeps on spinning, forgetting the rest. Riding on fumes, the haters all caught in a lie. Silencing survivors, can't believe what you deny. Turtle boy in the shadows, poking fun at the brave. Re-traumatizing souls like they're the ones ashamed. Melanie Little, what's it gonna be? Bragging about your fortune made of misery. You supported Ray Wolf and low down clothes while survivors bleed out, saying nobody knows. Stand up, stand united, rise against this force. We won't bow down to the shame. No remorse, no remorse. Break the silence, let's amplify the scream. Together we won't falter, united in this dream. Yeah, Ray from Dallas, dressed like a sheep in the herd. You prayed on Alex, man, let's spread the word. Supported by the wicked, you hiding your lies, but your dirty actions, yo, we exposed to the skies. Will the glare of Uncle Debbie, you're sick and
nobody would have known that I possibly fucked your wife. You don't even know. Nobody know you ran a stop sign and hit everybody. If you would apologize, none of this stuff would have happened. But no, you were stubborn. You was a brat. You couldn't admit you was wrong, and you kept going in the wrong direction. Not a whole world see it.
That's Afro Man. Glory, glory, hallelujah. We're waiting for the verdict. 2 p.m.
Shout out to Mikey over there at the Young Jerks. You know what I mean? Mikey holding it down in studio. Salute to him, man. Good man there. Never met him, but what I know of him online, he seems like a good man. Well, it's 1:56, so probably like 4 minutes away. We're 4 minutes away, so
thank you, Peter.
See what happens.
Dennis. 4 minutes. We're waiting.
4 minutes. You know, we'll definitely tune in with Mikey as soon as he goes live with the court. You know, watching Turtle Boy and his followers, you know, the fraudulent content creators, right, who circle around him. You know, it's just not surprising at all, right? It's not shocking. I'll tell you what, though, it is very, very revealing about human behavior. Because when you see the same people over and over, right, distorting facts, right? They invent motives, right? They attack victims, right? They defend people that is just not defendable. And from one case to the next. That's right. Shout out Money Making Mike. You know, yeah, definitely weirdo vibes. But I think you really start to realize something, right? That it's not journalism. You know what I mean? It's a business model. It's grifting. So they call it. The new word's grifting, right? And in 2026, it's become a full-time profession. You know what I mean? You want clicks over the truth. You don't want the truth. You want clicks. You don't want people to be accurate. You want to hear the drama. You know what I mean? Nobody wants evidence. They want to be biased over the evidence. I mean, it's predictable. And it don't change either. Every time there's a case involving whether it's police, domestic abuse, mental health, some a complicated emotional dynamic, you see the same bad actors show up with the same script over and over. They attack the officers, which there's nothing wrong with that. Not even saying there is. I was still waiting. They attacked the offices. And I'm just rambling on today. I really didn't have nothing. Absolutely. Yes. Send me the information or the link. He said Plymouth Cop is the next story. Yeah, I really didn't have nothing much to talk about today. I didn't have nothing planned. I'm preparing for this court case that I think is frivolous. It's a waste of time. You know what I mean? Like, what are you suing me for? I don't have nothing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have nothing. I don't understand. You want to sue me? Why? Because of your bad actions, allegedly. Because judges said that you couldn't be around your own child because you had a protective order, not just a temporary protective order, a 1-year protective order. And it's hard, right? I'm asking you guys, is it hard for a biological parent to get a 1-year protective order? You really have to do something that you have to prove to a judge that that person is a risk to that child. And I expose that and you sue me, right? Public record. I never said you per se was a pedophile. That's on other people to decide. But I know there was some crazy stuff I heard allegedly that you did to your daughter. But she was too young for them to take it to court. And that's why you're still in a school teaching people. That's right. That's what happens in Rhode Island at Ponagansett School. You know what I mean? You got gym teachers banging the football team. Facts. Look it up. You know what I mean? You got, athletic directors, having sex with teachers all over the friggin' building. You got a teacher that went to the senior dance with a student. For real. I'm not even capping. And I get sued because I expose that shit. Sue me all you want because you know what? This is just a journey for me because you know what? Win or lose, you don't get nothing. You're spending your money. You're being embarrassed. People are going to know who you really are. So sue me. That's who I am. I'm being sued because I exposed what a creep this guy is. So sue me all you want. Shout out to Robert in the chat. One of the mods, holding it down today. Appreciate you. Robert Marabello. Rabello. My last name is Rebello. Rebello. Let's see. There it is. Hosted by, and that's right. We also can be, I also got a bunch of links. I just don't upload it too much to a lot of streaming platforms. iHeartRadio. You can go to, I don't know if it's still Anchor FM. Can we keep it? I think Spotify bought them out. But you can go to Spotify, YouTube Music, you can go over there. You know, there's a lot of places that we have our podcast that streams, but I just don't put it out there too much because everyone goes to YouTube now. YouTube seems to be the premier joint. But yeah, we still waiting. We still waiting. We got Mikey on standby. Go over there and tell Mikey we streaming his content. Let him know. Be like, Mikey, can we keep it real streaming your content? Mikey would be like, it's all right. You know why? Because I asked him. First. But see, I really don't like streaming people's content because, like, by all rights, they could go and they could file a copyright strike. Oh, Law and Crime actually has it on now. They just entered the courtroom. Come on, Mikey.
I'm right behind, bro.
There he is. Mikey's up there. We got it. So let me go over there to his page and unmute it.
311, all counsel and the defendant are present.
Thank you. So, before I begin, I'd like to speak to our audience members. I understand that this case has generated a lot of passion and emotion. But we must remember that this is a courtroom and not a sports arena. When I announce my verdict, we must not act out emotionally or visibly or audibly react. So you should leave the courtroom if you believe that you will be unable to maintain your composure. I'd like to start with a few introductory words. Let me say this, this is not in my script. This has been one of the more exhausting, hardest things I've had to do as a judge, as an attorney. And so, as the lawyers know, unlike when a judge presides over a jury rape trial in a civil case, there is no requirement that a judge explain their reasons for reaching a verdict after a criminal bench trial. I do so in this case because I think that Ms. Fitzsimmons, Officer Newman, and all the people involved in the tragic events of June 30, 2025 deserve an explanation. Next, I'd like to take the opportunity to publicly thank and commend the attorneys in this case. They all did an exceptional job presenting the evidence and conducting themselves in an extremely professional and civil manner. And they did so under the public spotlight in an emotionally charged case. I commend you. To the extent that any of the prosecutors and attorneys may be vilified or subjected to public scorn for simply doing their jobs, in this case, I say that any such scorn is unfair, unwarranted, and simply wrong. These prosecutors and attorneys fought hard to perform their solemn jobs fairly with the utmost civility, and professionalism. They serve as a shining example of our adversarial system in operation. Now, I'd like to publicly acknowledge the crucial and often thankless role that police officers perform, a role that Ms. Fitzsimmons herself, like Officer Newman, willingly and selflessly performed for the citizens of North Andover. For this, you should be thanked, not disparaged. For those that think that serving as a police officer is easy, or that officers don't care or take pride in their work, I say with more than 3 decades of experience in the criminal justice system that you are naive, misinformed, and sadly mistaken. The work of police officers is especially fraught with peril today because of our exceedingly cynical, polarized atmosphere, where our citizenry often believes that there is a conspiracy under or around every corner. I saw no evidence of a conspiracy in this case. What I saw was dedicated public servants like Officer Noonan and his fellow officers doing the best they could under tragic, rapidly evolving emotional circumstances. What I also saw was a young woman, Ms. Fitzsimmons, who was also a dedicated public servant, react to sudden, confusing, and
It's just not loud.
news.
That's how loud it goes.
Now let me turn to the evidence and the law. Our system of justice requires me to decide this case solely on the law and the evidence. So the only things I have considered in reaching my verdict are the 98 exhibits submitted during the trial and the testimony of the 11 witnesses that testified here in open court. While it may be cold and uncaring, our system of justice demands that emotion, sympathy, and concern for the consequences of my decision play no role in my decision. As for the law, in order to prove Ms. Fitzsimmons guilty of the crime of assault by means of a dangerous weapon, the Commonwealth must prove the following 3 things. We lawyers call these things elements beyond a reasonable doubt. First, that Ms. Simmons committed an assault on Officer Noonan. Second, that Ms. Simmons intended to commit the assault. And third, that the assault was committed by means of a dangerous weapon. The sole issue before me is whether the Commonwealth proves each of these 3 elements beyond a reasonable doubt. And more specifically, under the circumstances of this case, the narrow issue before me is whether the Commonwealth proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Ms. Fitzsimmons pointed a firearm at Officer Noonan for any perceptible amount of time. What is not before me are the legality of the issuance of the restraining order to Mr. Alain, the reasonableness of the procedure used by the police to serve the restraining order, the legality of Officer Noonan's use of force, and issues regarding the custody of Katie. It is not my place to decide these issues or even mention my thoughts on them. I am thankful for this because my role has been hard enough. What has made my job especially difficult in this case is that by and large, I found the testimony of Officer Noonan and Ms. Fitzsimmons to be credible on the material and relevant points. In my experience, this is unusual and somewhat perplexing. On the one hand, Ms. Fitzsimmons credibly testified that she never pointed a firearm at Officer Noonan. On the other hand, Officer Noonan testified that not only did Ms. Fitzsimmons point a gun at him, that she also pulled the trigger. Both agree that it happened in seconds near a narrow doorway, and the crime scene photos show that the door frame was made narrower by a clothes rack containing police uniforms that was to Officer Noonan's left. The door frame was also made, the door frame was made still narrower when Officer Noonan used it to take cover when he drew his firearm. During the closing argument, the Commonwealth argued that it is scientifically and physically impossible for Ms. Fitzsimmons' story to be true because there was a bullet in the chamber, and she said that Officer Noonan shot her without her ever wrapping the slide after pulling the trigger. I disagree that the evidence reflected that the only way to chamber a round would have been to pull the slide under those circumstances. However, even if I assume that Ms. Fitzsimmons lied about not wrapping the slide, it does not detract from the adamancy and credibility of her testimony that she never pointed the gun at Officer Noonan, about which he was equally as adamant that she did. Perhaps the Commonwealth could have easily met its burden if the officers had been wearing body cameras. But under these circumstances, I am left with a reasonable doubt, and I am duty bound to find that the Commonwealth has not met its burden to prove that Ms. Fitzsimmons committed an assault by means of a dangerous weapon on Officer Newman, and my verdict is, and it must be, not guilty. With that, I will hand the signed verdict slip. I will hand the signed verdict slip to Mr. Wayne and ask that he advise Ms. Fitzsimmons of her statutory rights.
Ms. Fitzsimmons, could you please stand? On docket 2025, 77 CR 311, count 001. The court having returned a verdict of not guilty, the court orders that you be discharged of this indictment, and this indictment only, and go thereof without delay. Kelsey Fitzsimmons, as required by statute, I must inform you that the records regarding the charges for which you have been found not guilty will be sealed by the Commissioner of Probation and by the court unless you notify the Commissioner of Probation
Not guilty.
within 10 days that you do not want those records sealed. To request that those records not be sealed, you may use the request to seal form posted on the trial court's webpage on mass.gov, or a copy of which I will hand to your counsel. I cannot accept the form here in court. You must submit it to the Commissioner of Probation at the address provided on the form. You understand?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Court is in recess. Good, all right.
Another victory for Mr. Bradle. Not guilty, says the court.
No more breathing in. No more breathing into the. Tube or any of that shit. Probation is over. She can live where she wants to, hopefully. God damn. And this Kelsey's family court attorney is there as well. Oh, there's the mom. They must be so happy. I think I might have to give Steve a call today. There he is. Holy shit, dude. Holy shit.
I wonder how Noonan feels, you know? Not guilty verdict came back. Jay Brill in the courtroom. Of course he is.
Tim Bradle got it done. I heard a lot of criticism of Bradle, but he got it done. Look at him. He was a little nervous. You could see his legs moving, for Christ's sake.
He fell right
Holy
down
shit.
on the table.
Look at him sit
Bradle at
down.
the
He's
end. Of
breathing
course, you know,
deep.
tough cases when you
I
go to
can't
trial.
imagine what these guys go through, these attorneys out there.
You got someone's life in your hands.
Oh, my God. I'm pissed I'm not there. Like, Jesus, I should be there. If I get.
Well, what does this mean now that Kelsey has a not guilty verdict, right? In a bench trial. Is it the end of the story? You know, I mean, it doesn't mean the situation was chaotic. I mean, emotions were definitely high. You seen Bradle fall back on the bench, you know. Congratulations, you know, the prosecution just didn't meet the burden of proof that the judge wanted. That's all it is. You know, the whole legal definition. You know, this case was built on, you know, conflicting testimony. You know what I mean? Inconsistent statements, credibility issues, you know, and a moment that unfolded in seconds. You know, co-workers involved here. The judge made the call that the law required him to make. But the public, they're not going to interpret this however they want. You know? I mean, inside the courtroom, the judge was looking at the evidence. He's looking at the intent. Am I on screen? No, I'm not on screen. My goodness, I am not on screen. Yeah, and now she has to go to family court, to try to get her kid back. But it's good that she was found not guilty so she can be able to get her child back. Now, outside the courtroom, it's probably a circus outside, right? You got all these content creators who turned this case into a personality contest. I mean, a lot of these people turn this shit into their own public, whatever you want to call it. You got people who attacked Justin, they attacked Kelsey, they attacked the offices, they attacked Jay Brill, anyone that didn't fit into their narrative. You got grifters out there who treat every case like a new season of their own reality show. You know what I mean? And now that the verdict is out, they're going to spin it. They're going to profit off it. Because that's what they do. That's the whole reason why Turtle Boy got down with this case. So he could grift it. So he could profit off it. There's never going to be peace after this. Not for Kelsey. Not for Justin. They got to deal with this shit for another 18 years. Their child is still like a newborn type. You know what I mean? So how you think that's going to go back and forth, back and forth? They're never going to have good words towards each other. Officer Noonan and his family, because he was the loudest mouth, the most unhinged voices online have already decided what the truth is, and they're not going to let go of that. A verdict is not going to silence them. It's going to fuel them, give them more ammo, keep them going, and that's the tragedy behind this tragedy, I really think that people, they're leaving this part out. A judge, right? He isn't deciding who's the better person in all this, right? Who's more sympathetic? Who the internet likes more? That's not what this is, a popularity contest. Her baby will not remember anything that happens with Kelsey. No, but you know what? It's all over YouTube. So when her baby grows up, he's going to see what a piece of shit Justin was. He's going to be like, you did that to my mother? My mother got shot. You tried to put my mother in prison? You know what I mean? They're going to see all that. You ain't going to be able to hide that from them. And I don't even think it was Justin that was pushing all this. I bet it was his weirdo mother and his weirdo sister that was pushing the whole narrative. That's not a moral judgment. I mean, this is the law. I mean, I don't think the verdict's going to calm anything down. But I just hope Kelsey and Justin can kind of be diplomatic in all this. It's not going to stop the commentary. It'll go on for another month or two. People will follow the child support case, the family court case. It's not going to stop the misinformation going back and forth. If anything, I think it's going to make the loudest voices even louder. Like turtle shit. You know? What about the people, the ones who are actually in the courtroom in that moment? They're the ones that are going to carry the weight, right? Not Turtle Boy, not the trolls, not the people who watch this like a sport, but the families. Yeah, Turtle Boy want to show Bradle love now, but as soon as he feels he don't need Bradle anymore, you watch, Bradle. You watch, Better. You guys are in trouble. He's gonna spin this shit on you guys like crazy. You watch. But this whole situation with the turtle bitch, there's no winners here. You know, and with Kelsey and Justin, there's no winners there either. There's not even a pretty happy ending in this story. There's no version of a happy ending in this story. All they could do is, try to be peaceful. And all we could do here is stay grounded, right? Stay factual, try to stay human, give you an honest reaction. Maybe I don't have that type of personality you like, but give you that type of reaction. And the people that want to help us out with memberships, they want to help us out with super chats. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you. But what do y'all think about this? A not guilty verdict. What does it legally mean? What do I know? I should know that, right? What does it legally mean? Kelsey Fitzsimmons is not guilty. Let's go over here and check and see what. Let's see. Oh, how about the Mass State Trooper placed on administrative? This Mass State Trooper is being locked up all over the place. There's an investigation. Look at this, Scott Quigley. Look at this. Ted Daniels said Mass State Police homicide detective Scott Quigley has been indicted for felony motor vehicle homicide for the 2023 crash that killed Angelo Scanetti of Saugus. The state police concluded Quigley has had a medical event that caused him to lose control of his cruiser. Where are we? Oh, here we are. Yeah, it's just all about the grit. It's all about the grit with him. The grit, the grift, whatever the hell it is. And then there was another story that I think I seen on Boston 25. Yeah, so we know Kelsey is not guilty. This was a guy they looked for from the hospital. Body of hospital patient missing since October, found in Mass Lake. He killed a guy drunk driving. And then there's somebody today, I think a husband and wife, that I thought I shared it on my Twitter page. Let me see. Kelsey Fitzsimmons found not guilty. The Commonwealth failed to meet the burden. She's going to be united with her dog.
house. Her whole world imploded. Her fiance betrayed her. Her baby was being taken away. She was going to lose her house, her job. It was an incredible confluence of tragedy that was visited upon her.
It's impossible to have happened the way she said it. It is scientifically, mechanically impossible for it to happen the way she said it.
We walked in, and like all of us are susceptible to, he made a mistake. He shot too quick.
Her story can't be true. She got up on that stand and she lied to you.
He shot too quick. That's all.
Impossible.
Just own
for
it.
the story to have happened the way she said. That's what the evidence shows.
He's the only one with the Rambo story. Everyone else has what Kelsey says. He walks into a suicide in progress. He sees it. He reacts. Kelsey, no. Kelsey, no. Bam, bam. Brain freeze. Mistake. Has to cover it up.
Maybe she was just so upset she was going to shoot anybody in front of her. Maybe she wanted him to shoot her. We don't know because she lied about it. We don't know. But the fact is, she started to shake, she started to tremble, and she lunged for the gun.
Oh boy.
Never pointed the gun at Officer Newman, about which he was equally as adamant that she did. Perhaps the Commonwealth could have easily met its burden if the officers had been wearing body cams. But under these circumstances, I am left with a reasonable doubt, and I am duty bound to find that the Commonwealth has not met its burden to prove that Ms. Fitzsimmons committed an assault by means of a dangerous weapon on Officer Newman, and my verdict is, and must be, not guilty. With that, I will hand the signed verdict slip and credibility of her testimony that she never pointed the gun at Officer Newman, about which he was equally as adamant that she did.
Oh, here it is. The Plymouth police officer recently placed on leave during a criminal investigation, and her husband were arrested by state police on Thursday morning. Let's see what the story says. Oof.
Assaulting a family member has been arrested. Massachusetts State Police took Samantha Pellrine into custody this morning. Pellrine's husband, Daniel Fornand, was also arrested. Pellrine is on paid administrative leave pending the investigation. A judge has ordered her to have no contact with the alleged victim. They will be booked and transported to Plymouth District Court for an arraignment.
Salad. So what I make.
Wow, officer and her husband arrested, and this is a sex abuse allegation. So the Plymouth officer, right, recently placed on leave during a criminal investigation, and her husband were arrested by state police on Thursday. Samantha Pellrine, 31 years old, and her husband, Daniel Ferran, were taken into custody at their home without any incident. A Plymouth DA spokesman told Boston 25. She was placed on leave on March 17th after Mass State Police notified the Plymouth Police Department of an active criminal investigation. She was the subject of an abuse prevention order. What? Filed in Plymouth on March 17th, court's documents show. In a handwritten affidavit, the accuser claims that Pellrine and her husband, Daniel Ferran, both SA'd her until 2025 and physically assaulted her until 2026. Physical assault was only performed by Daniel. The accuser wrote in the affidavit They placed Perline on leave Sunday. In a statement after her arrest, the police department said they were appalled and deeply disturbed. We hold our officers to the highest standard, and we expect them their sworn duty. We don't expect them to be ripping people. Our primary mission is to safeguard the public's trust, to uphold the law. We have human life, fairness, integrity, accountability, and we got to be professional. The conduct alleged is a violation of our values, of our basic principles as police officers to serve and protect. Perline and Ferran are scheduled to be arraigned in Plymouth District Court. Oh, yeah, Judge Bev over there. Wow. So it said only she did the essay and he did the physical abuse. God damn. You know, so as soon as one situation is over, keep it real. Stacks let go, baby. It's the podcast. This podcast. Keep it real, Stacks. Let's go, baby. Appreciate you. I appreciate you. But that is crazy where we have another cop. You know what I mean? On some crazy ass ripper shit. Her and her husband. That's insane. And then we have a cop that was drunk driving. Yo, there's always some crazy shit going on in Massachusetts with the popo, with the one time, with 12. This guy, man, here's a guy that's actually suing me. He's suing me. He's in Worcester County, right? His name's Bailey Bragger. You can look him up, right? This guy's suing me because he had a restraining order against his 6-year-old biological daughter, right? Protective order for a year. You know, and in that restraining order was some pretty foul shit. You know, and I don't know why. That's actually a very bad charge, especially two people, you know, I don't know. Are they both cops? We'll get to you later, Bailey. We'll get to Bailey later. But are they both cops? That is insane. You know, yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. Well, we know right now Kelsey is not guilty. You know, congratulations to her. And we'll have to see what happens to Daniel Ferran, you know, and the Plymouth cop. Insane. Insane. Yo, hit them memberships up. Give some memberships. Appreciate it. The super chats, you know, if you want to really support me, you know, hit me up on Venmo at Can We Keep It Real. One word. Can we keep it real? You know, even as low as a cup of coffee, hook me up with $2. You know, I'm trying to get a lawyer. Trying to get a lawyer to defend this frivolous case, which is kind of a waste of time. Guy's suing someone that don't have anything. But yeah, hook it up. I'll talk to you soon.
No more blind eye. We ain't shaming, we're claiming all the pain bottled inside. Yeah. Are we shaming the man, not believing his cries, telling stories so raw like darkness in disguise? Alex stands bold, he's worn the scars on his chest, but the world just keeps on spinning, forgetting the rest, riding on fumes, the haters all caught in a lie, silencing survivors, can't believe what you deny, turtle boy in the shadows, poking fun at the brave, re-traumatizing souls like they're the ones ashamed. Melanie Little, what's it gonna be? Bragging about your fortune made of misery. You supported Reagan Wolf and low down clothes while survivors bleed out, saying nobody knows. Stand up, stand united, rise against this fighters, scream, scream, scream. Together we won't falter, united in this dream. Yeah, Ray from Dallas, dressed like a sheep in the herd. You prayed on Alex, man, let's spread the word. Supported by the wicked, you hiding your lies, but your dirty actions, yo, we exposed to the skies. Will the glare of Uncle Debbie, you're sick in the mind. Keep spreading the hatred, but we're leaving you behind. Jessica Machado, professing her hate for those standing strong, girl, you just suffocate. Time to dismantle the game, take back the power. These abuses won't hide in the dark hour. United we stand, and strengthen the crowd, calling out the predators, we're yelling it loud. Stand up, stand united, rise against this force. We won't bow down to the shame. No remorse, no remorse. Break the silence, let's amplify the scream, scream, scream. Together we won't falter, united in this dream. So let's gather the truth, hold tight to the flame. No more shame on survivors, we're rewriting the game. If you stand with Alex, man, let your voice rise against Turtle Boy and the lies. Let's shatter the sky. We rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up. United, we're ready to fight, yeah, the end of the silence. In the long night. Stand up, stand united. Stand against this foe. United in this dream.
Yeah. You know the story. It's heavy in the air. When a father turns to shadows, how could you even dare? Yo, Will Henry, you a sucker. Let's break it down. Claim you a man, but where's your crown? Put your hands up, kid. You taught him how to fight, but you ain't fighting right, man. This ain't no light. You grab your son, run off like a thief in the night. Where's the love? This ain't how you raise a child, right? Kicking your son out like he's just a game piece. How you claim to be a dad, forgetting his release. Will Henry, you a sucker. Can't you see the glare? Claiming blackmailing the myth. You think no one cares? Special needs child, you're running from the truth. But every word you spit just reveals your own you. Admitting the violence, it's hard for me to trust. Fighting your kid, nah, that's just unjust. 6'2", but he's still your son at the core. Raising fists over lessons, that ain't what you for. Talk about forgiveness, but you let ego reign. Dragging things out like a puppet on a chain. You think you're tough, man, but underneath is weak. Claiming power with fists when it should be love you seek. Allegations swirling, made public and raw. Yet you try to justify and glaze over the flaw. Just look in the mirror, see the man you become. A name in the charts, but what's under that drum? Will Henry, you a sucker, got all eyes on you. Blackmail and violence, is that the best you can do? Special needs child, you claim it's all fine, but the truth's in the lineup is living in every line. Will Henry, you a sucker, got all eyes on you. Blackmail and violence, is that the best you can do? Special needs child, you